So in case you were seeing all those tweets about the Times Square billboard with blue Chara on it, and you were wondering, why were there so many people that have pictures of that? It's because there was Gridlock going on in New York. Gridlock was a regional LAN tournament run in partnership with Gen Gain, which I believe is the LAN center out there. And we had a really, really exciting grand finals that I want to show you guys a game of right here. This is between Sonder and Common Senseless. You can see them here on the screen, and we will see their inklings in just a second. Sonder is a regular contender in the later stages of these kinds of tournaments. Common Senseless is a pickup team consisting of a bunch of names that you should really know if you've been around the competitive Splatoon community for a while. Break down the comps here really quickly. Sonder running a tri-nouveau, so that's a tacticooler weapon, and another bucket in the sloshing machine, the double bucket comp for Undertow, enabling them to hit up over the top of mid and try and control that area with those sort of AoE weapons. Got a Wiper Deco, which you're going to see in a second, has two mains of special charge. They really want their missiles when they want them, and we see good reason for them to want them as this match goes on here. Then we've got Scrub on the Nautilus, a strong slaying weapon, and also going to be able to do some kind of pseudo anchor stuff. Going to be also useful to be marking people so that they can spot where they're coming from. There's a tent that has been used in a number of different maps here on Common Senseless's team, so being able to spot the tent and what side of the shield they're on is going to be a valuable counterplay against them. And it's also just a map that's pretty sharking heavy. It's a map where Hitzel on the sneaky little splash-o-matic might be able to get in and make some plays. So just a generally useful combination of things to have, and also it's a map that the Inkstorm takes up the majority of because it's long and skinny. So I think a pretty solid choice for them there. Then on the other side, we've got Keen playing the Tent Umbrella. Something that Vicfion was saying on the comms is, oh my god, there are going to be so many Tent Umbrellas in solo queue after this, because Keen was making it look like a really good weapon. Keen is one of those players who has been playing Umbrellas for a very long time, has chops on it from previous games and previous patches and whatnot. So, Keen, Shadowwind, Simo, you're going to see some of these players pulling out the tent in places where a lot of teams wouldn't prioritize it, just because that's something that's within their skill set and they are very, very good at it. This happens to be a pretty good tent map. It's got a lot of narrow passageways, which is what you're looking for, so you can block them off entirely with the tent shield. Just really annoying and gets in the way. And we'll see Keen kind of pop off and really show what this weapon can do on this map in one of those plays later on. Hitzel has been in the competitive community for an extremely long time, is very foundational to the game's early content creation, and plays a big role in the Academy server. And then Hunty, really, really, really cracked splatter shot player here on the T-Tech, so they're going to have these strikes. Hitzel's going to have a crab, and Power is going to round this out with the ballpoint, which they're going to be able to use the inkjet for. The combination in particular of ballpoint and splash has been really powerful. Crab plus inkjet means that there's basically nowhere to run from the enemy team's specials except backwards, and that's exactly what the team wants you to have to do. But one challenge that they're going to have is that the enemy team has a tacticooler weapon, which means that sometimes the pace that they're going to be respawning at is going to be faster than you can work those specials up at. So they're going to have to rely in some cases here on the tent to stall for more time, which we will see being done here. It's a really, really interesting matchup of playstyles. So Rainmaker, they're going to roll out and they're going to go for pop, and then there's going to be a lot of posturing early on. Not a lot that they're really going to be able to accomplish one way or the other until the specials start coming out, which is pretty typical that you'll see in competitive play, and they get those specials pretty darn quickly. Keen, meanwhile, is launching a shield into mid here. That'll just clear that top mid area, make it a little bit difficult for the enemy team to make a move on the Rainmaker quickly. They can't kind of sneak it one way or the other. If something happens, it's going to have to be honest. They're going to have to go through Common Senseless to be able to get it. Hunty's on the right-hand side looking for sharking plays, looking for a way in. Meanwhile, we've got Power farming for an inkjet, and they get that really, really quickly. But then the missiles come out from Sonder, which are going to force Power and everybody back a little bit. So Power instead decides to come up into this snipe position on the top left, and they're going to use their Inkjet from here, which is going to make their Inkjet jump a lot safer, especially since the rest of the team seems to be rotating over to the right-hand side, and they're not going to be there to protect it. It's also going to give them high ground to fire from, so they can hit up over the top of mid. But it is also going to make it that once they retreat back into their jump point, that they're going to be out of play. So they launch it here, and notice how they're waiting just a second longer so that it can go out in timing with Keen's shield. Keen gets the tent shield out, and then the Inkjet gets popped. That's really important to coordinate with your Tent Umbrella player because they are on a relatively slow cycle, and it's better to do things on that cycle than to race in ahead of what the Tent Umbrella can help with. In the meantime, Hunty has ended up getting her special first, so rather than popping the crab right away, they're going to pop the tri-strikes and try to follow those up with the Inkjet, but this ends up not getting a lot of value. What Saunders doing here is they're moving a little bit further forward than they really have control of just to poke. This is a really common strategy. Rather than standing still and then getting pushed back, it's really smart to push up just a little bit further than you really want to stay, get them to burn the resource on you, and then back up so that you're back where you were originally instead of being forced back from where you were originally. Keeps a little bit more space that way. And they're able to back up out of the range of these strikes. Strikes just kind of clear this area out. Now, that does make it so that the front line of Common Senseless is going to be able to shark in. Because look at the screen right now. You can't see anything through that. And that means it's going to be difficult to spot anybody who's coming in. There is going to be some paint on the ground, but it's not going to displace the enemy team in a way that they are going to be scattered, that they're going to be especially vulnerable right now. And so what has to happen now is something that will get the attention of Sonder so that a pick can happen. Because nobody's gone down. We've used up most of our two specials right here. Power's not hitting an Inkjet shot. But what we do is Hitzel grabs the Rainmaker and pulls it to the left. All of Saunders on the right side right now. And in order to stop the Rainmaker, they're going to have to rotate. So they turn to rotate, and that's when Hunty hits them on the right-hand side. And that's how Hunty is able to get these two picks before actually going down to the player on the right-hand side. So, huge play from Hunty. The problem is, remember how we talked earlier about how the Inkjet jump was going to put Power out of play? Hitzel's got the Rainmaker. The only other frontliner on their team is Hunty, who's over on the right-hand side getting those picks. Without Hitzel to be in front and clear the enemy team out, the only player who can protect the Rainmaker from here is the Tent Umbrella. And with the shield already having been launched, and a machine being there anyway, so they would be able to hit over the shield, even if the shield was there, this isn't going to work out too well. Machine is able to stand its ground and pick Hitzel off. Power tries to get a fizzy bomb over the top of the wall to help in time, but it doesn't make it to its target. And as Greg's feet are getting painted, they just pop the Booyah Bomb to say, nope, you don't get to play here anymore. Keen is forced to back up. Power is not able to make it in time, and they're forced to regroup. Push only goes to 90. Great defense from Sonder. So, the Booyah Bomb is at an angle where it's not going to hit anything, so they might as well just use it to pop the Rainmaker shield. So they do that, and it looks like they're aiming to just leave the Rainmaker in the corner and let it reset. Birch tries to go in on the left-hand side, and you can see kind of what they're trying to do here with the double bucket comp. They're trying to be able to slosh up over these kinds of ledges to catch people out. They're seeing that Keen is right there in the middle and popping the Zuka. Problem is, Birch doesn't quite get into range in time. Keen reacts a little too quickly. I can't tell if that's a Zuka shot or if that's coming from Hunty or what, but Birch gets stopped, and then another fight is won out in front. And so now, seeing that the Rainmaker is still there unpopped in the corner on the left, Common Senseless dives in to try and grab it. Problem is they get stalled, it resets in time, and now they've pushed too far forward. Hunty stayed back and played around the Rainmaker shield, but the others have pushed in, and so Keen kind of gets too deep, goes down. Hunty tries to trade back, but the rest of the team is now retreating, so they get one, and then Beautiful, beautiful tracking here from Birch to be able to catch her on the way down the ramp. I'm pretty sure from that angle, Birch couldn't have actually seen it. Birch was just anticipating where she was going to be based on where she was last seen and where she was moving at that time. So great pick here from Birch, using that wide hitbox of the tri-slosher. So they grab the Rainmaker, and here's their game plan. They're going to try and just blitz it up the left-hand side, see if they can get to the checkpoint before anybody stops them. They've got Greg in the way. Greg is a machine. The machine is one of the better skirmishers in the game. It's able to stop people from moving through the area it controls. It can't push very fast, but they don't want it to push very fast. They just want it to stand its ground here and stop people from being able to get in the way of this Rainmaker push. Birch, in the meantime, is free to try and paint the map for Henlo. Unfortunately, tri-slosher isn't the greatest weapon for doing that. They've also got the tacticooler they're trying to deploy at the same time, and during the time that they're spending here, Greg does end up going down. A great play between Hitzel and Keen to be able to isolate Greg into a 2v1 and make it so that they were no longer in the way. And now, with the crab firing at the side here, they force the Rainmaker guard away from the Rainmaker in time for Hunty and Power to get in position to get up over the top of this wall and be able to pre-fire and stop Henlo before the dunk comes in. This is a really important stop because getting that checkpoint means that the enemy team is going to be able to push past that checkpoint next time instead of having to make a necessary pit stop that gives the enemy team time to regroup when they try to push. So this is really, really important of a stop here. This is valuable for them to have gotten. It's totally worth it for them to burn the special on. And in fact, Power's going to get another pick here on Birch because high ground plus inkjet equals win. So, Common Senseless stops that push in a pretty good place. They keep the Rainmaker resetting here, and then Keen takes their time setting down some mines to make sure that nobody can sneak in there and grab it while they're moving up. Tent shield goes out and they start moving forward, and here is one of the ways that you see value out of that point sensor. They now know where the tent is relative to their shield. The shield cannot hide when the Zook is coming out or what side it's coming from, because Keen is going to have to position relative to the cover in front before they're going to be able to get a shot landed. Hunty goes in on the right-hand side, but ends up going down in a trade. And so now these remaining two players, yes, they have to be worried about the Trizuka, but they have this piece of cover that they can play Ring Around the Rosie with. And with Keen marked, and only so long on the Zuka here, it's pretty easy for them to just skirt around it and never have to worry about it. So now Keen's a little bit in an awkward position. He's going to have to reset back up onto top mid, and that gives Sonder plenty of time to respawn in. Now, they're not going to be able to get full control of mid yet. They first need to get some specials and push in. And with Hitzel posted up on that left-hand side over there, they already have some room on the left, so they take it and start to move. But Henlo doesn't care, because Henlo's over here to farm missiles. And these missiles are brutal on such a close quarters map. Watch what this does. So Hitzel and Hunty are the ones who get hit by the missiles. If Hunty backs up from here after noticing the missiles are on her, she runs into the missiles that are on Hitzel, and probably also, prevents the crab from helping her on her way in. So she decides instead to move forward. She can't move right either because that's the direction the missiles are coming from. You can see the arrows on the circle. They are indicating that the missiles are being fired from the right side of the map, which means that there's a player on the right side of the map. And they're not going to stay there for too long after these missiles get popped. So Hunty's got to move forward. That's the only option that she's got. But the tent is only going to be able to clear so much space for her, and when these missiles start going out and the fire starts coming out, she just doesn't have anywhere to go. So difficult to manage those missiles there, but look at where Keen is. Keen is snuck in behind the enemy team. Scrub knows that they're there, and so they're not going to push in. Watch this here. Right now, what should be happening is Sonder should be accelerating the game off of this 4v2 numbers advantage and pushing the Rainmaker to the left. But they have a tent in their base. If they go and try and pop the Rainmaker shield, there's a risk they just get one shot in the back. So they have to take care of this tent first. But taking care of a tent is not an easy thing to do because it's got its shield out, and now it's being launched. And so they try to shred the shield. Scrub has an opportunity to hit the shots there, but just can't find Keen in time. And Keen gets around the corner. And now the shield's back up. So now they've got to try again. That's another cycle that they've wasted all this time. Notice how everyone on Common Senseless has respawned at this point. This is what skirmishing is. Skirmishing is forcing the enemy team to deal with something that is outside of where they would rather be playing the game. And by the way, Keen now has a Trizuka. So they get a whole bunch of chip damage from the AoE that goes around the corner. And then Henlo tries to push, bumps into the shield, and dies to bumping into the shield. And Keen is able to get the shield up in time, so Scrub isn't even able to trade back. And Keen is still here in their base. How long has this been happening for? Let's see. Keen is still back there at 2:55 or something. Yeah, they push in right here at 3 minutes flat. And now they're in position. So like 2:57, let's say. And this whole thing wastes so much of Scrub and Henlo's time. Henlo ends up going down to it in the end. They finally do end up getting Keen a little bit later on, but this is just such a disaster for the pace that Sonder wants to play at. At this point, they do finally get a bucket involved, and that makes it really difficult for Keen to stay where they're at. Keen is trying to actually go on the offensive here and push out from behind this corner, and with Birch rotating back to be able to get them, they finally get it. But notice now, with the even numbers here, look at where Common Senseless is again. They didn't lose any ground. Because now, since 3 members of Sonder had to stay back to deal with the tent, they're able to just walk right back up to where they were before, even though they got splatted out of those positions. So Hunty gets a pick here. Birch tries to trade it back, isn't able to find her. And now the Crab is out, which is going to force everybody out of the way. So they're going to try and go for a Rainmaker push here because they've got the special out, and there's only, so good of an opportunity they can create for themselves before the special runs out of time and they have to push up. But Sonder being very disciplined here to avoid those specials. Something that you'll see that's a kind of trademark of high-level play is that they know when the enemy team is going to have disproportionate force. They're looking at those special meters up at the top of the screen, and they're spotting out what it is that they are going to have to be worried about next. So when the enemy team has 3 of their specials, they know that they need to give those specials space so they don't get caught out, so they don't get picked from those specials. And as that patience pays off here, Birch is able to sneak in around the tent shield, stop the Rainmaker just before it gets to the dunk. Now, they stop it, they pop it, but Hitzel is able to get in and outmaneuver Birch. And so now, with Keen in the way still, with another player going down in front, it's a 4v2 situation. Hitzel's going to be able to just pick this up and dunk the Rainmaker on that first checkpoint before Scrub can do anything about it. Right? Oh no. Hitzel didn't realize they didn't dunk. It's a LAN. They've been playing for hours. The nerves are getting to them. And Hitzel thought that when the Rainmaker went up in the air, that signaled the dunk. And that the "we lost the Rainmaker" was just overriding the sound effect from hearing that it got dunked on the pedestal. Pro tip, to avoid this situation, always look at the UI at the top and see if the picture of the checkpoint, that little mound there, has vanished from the screen. If it hasn't, you still have to dunk it. Hitzel finds this out the hard way, gets taken out here by Scrub, and so Sonder stop that, and they're going to be able to move out, use these missiles here, and try to get some more tempo going. They take out Keen in the meantime, great pick, and they get the missiles out before Henlo's going to go down. But the Rainmaker going to reset. They're going to back up for their Tacticooler. They're going to play it a little bit slower here. Power goes in with an Inkjet to try and maintain control of mid. Sonder has been playing really patiently right behind mid, but that has also given Common Senseless access to the Rainmaker a lot of the time, and they've been able to get these pops pretty frequently. So they're right there back in mid, even though they're playing against the Tacticooler team comp that should, in theory, be able to do this kind of thing to them. And as this plays out, They end up getting a pick on the left-hand side between Hitzel and a couple of others. Keen is able to shield Hunty, who grabs the Rainmaker on the way down so that the enemy team isn't able to stop this. And they end up getting a 1-for-1 trade. Another 1-for-1 trade goes in. Power gets one, and that's a wipeout. So with all of those quick trades back and forth, Common Senseless now has the opportunity to get over to the left-hand side. There's no way to stop it, and Hitzel has his redemption arc, is able to actually dunk the thing, and now they're able to make some progress. So they're going to have pop here, but at this point, every member of Sonder is going to be there on defense. And here, I think Common Senseless makes a little bit of an error in that they try to rush this push. The defense is already in place. They wanted to just run it for some extra points because nobody had made it past that checkpoint. And for heaven's sakes, there's only a minute left. So we might as well get some extra points on the board and make it a little bit more difficult than for them to just dunk the Rainmaker and be able to push up from there. But they rushed this a little bit much because Fizzy Bomb gets in the way, and now this is the most beautiful set of missiles. Everyone's all clumped up. Two of them are stuck in a corner. One of them is the Rainmaker that wants to move forward, which will only cut off Power and Hitzel here even worse. And Hitzel's crab is about to go out. The missiles just shred everything. The push is dead at 47. So they have the lead, but it's not a big one, and it's a delayed wipe, which is arguably worse than a full immediate wipe, because it means that Common Senseless is going to be staggered on their way in, and that Hitzel and Hunty are going to have to be relatively careful about how they play it. Now, Sonder again plays it a little bit conservative here, and they don't try to go in after Hunty and Hitzel, even though they can see them out there. They figure the jumps are probably coming in or something, but now Common Senseless is all the way in here. And Henlo just says, you know what? I'll just missile everyone then. They missile the shield and all 4 enemy players, and now enemy team is going to be able to move in. And notice the confidence here that Henlo has that something's going to come out of this. They just run straight for the Rainmaker. And here's the trick. The left-hand side is generally the slow and steady option that you want to go for if you're trying to just get the strongest push you can, because it gives you the most cover, gives you the best options for your frontliners to push ahead and help you out. There's a really nasty choke point on the right-hand side in getting up that ramp. That it's right next to the enemy spawn, so they get there faster. A lot of problems with that. Unpaintable, difficult to hide, no way to really flank except to go all the way around the left. So left side is usually preferred, but Common Senseless hasn't gotten very far. They've only made it to 47. And this is a push that's pretty easily beaten just by a sprint from the right side checkpoint. So they aren't going to go left, where most of the defense is anyway. They're going to go to the right. They're going to dunk it really quickly using this Booyah Bomb to keep them safe. They get a couple of picks, and now they're going to try and sprint it for lead on the right-hand side. And that works perfectly. They get it to 39 before anyone's able to drop in and stop it. You see how fast they were able to stop it, even though Common Senseless was on the back foot. But that's what the right side push is for. For if you're already going to have access to the right side, and the enemy team is, out of rotation or several of them are down, there's a hole in the defense, you can get through there, and that's all the points you need to get lead. 13 seconds left, but they wipe out, so Common Senseless is going to have one more opportunity to stay in the tournament. Remember, this is set point for Sonder here. They're up 3-2 in a best of 7. 4 games is what wins them the entire tournament. This push needs to save Common Senseless. They've got positions up in mid. There hasn't really been too much of a concern from going in that direction anyway. Keen is staying in mid and threatening to go in either direction, because if all of Sonder were to just drop on the right-hand side, right now they could sprint left. And if all of Sonder was to commit to left, they could sprint right. So they're waiting to see if they could maybe get Sonder to look one way or the other. But it doesn't look like Sonder's really going to bite. So they just paint up a little bit around them so they can't get flanked, and they try to wait for Hunty to be able to get in there and get something done. They fire some shots over here on the right, again, seeing if they can get the enemy team to look over the right-hand side, but Greg and Birch are wise to it. They 2v1 Hunty, and so a little bit of trouble there. The Inkjet goes up into the air, and they are able to get Greg, and then it's off screen. It's difficult to see. It might have been Hitzel, but Henlo and Greg and Birch all go down. The only player left is Scrub, who is dropped into mid to just go after the Rainmaker because they were seeing they're committing a lot of members forward towards the rest of our team on the front line. Maybe the Rainmaker is exposed. And it is. And this would be a problem, except that they lost the fight so hard on the front line after they got Hunty. They tried to accelerate so hard after they got her that there's nobody in the way. And so Scrub has to rush in. Keen gets the Rainmaker shot, and they pop off. What a game. The entire set was like that, okay? Go watch it. Trust me, totally worth your time. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who was involved with putting this on. It was a real treat to watch. I bet it was even more of a treat in person. Hope y'all get some sleep tonight, because y'all probably are going to need it. Go watch this set.